During the countrywide visit by the CS for Internal Affairs, Murkomen, we are learning a lot. Although I would have preferred that the National Police Service records it for us to get a lot of information of what is happening. We are only getting what attendants are uploading on the social media, but we are getting the feel. For example, I'm happy to hear that nowadays the OCS has the AIE, the authority to in car expenditures. That is good. That is good. It goes hand in hand with that I've already recorded before, where I said that inspectors of police and above should be gazetted. It is good that the OCS nowadays have authority to incur expenses. Previously, um, for example, when my father was the OCPD, I'll talk of two places, Kajiado and Wajir. Although he was also an OCPD Railways Nairobi, but I'll talk of the Wajir and Kajiado. When he was the OCPD in Kajiado, remember the OCS Namanga, the OCS Loitoktok, and the OCS Ngong had to go the way to Kajiado for any expenditure, because the OCPD had the authority to incur expenditure, AIE. So I've learned that there was a improvement, which is a good, because I even remember an OCPD saying that when the AIEs were taken to the OCSs, it means that almost everything was taken away from the OCPD. Something should be done for the OCPD also to have a skeleton AIE. Let us not dig one hole to fill another. When the OCPDs had the AIE and OCS did not have, let us not transfer everything to the OCS. I think accountants with police experience should come out with a figure so that the OCPD does not remain alone. I also remember the Bomet, one of the DCIOs from Bomet. He really handled things in a very professional manner. In a very professional manner. I'm not trying to say, even the lady from prison handled properly, uh, handling issues of there being a women prison and something like that. But I would also want to say that the DCIO really came out. You see, most of these people, the OCSs and OCPD, are concentrating on more on personnel issues, on welfare issues. But the DCIO concentrated a lot. He concentrated a lot on the technical side, which is very good. Not that I'm not against there being. I'm not against them talking about their personnel issue, morale, and whatever, because the morale is the sixth sense that joins the other five. So we start that most of the things that I wanted to comment about, especially the Bomet visit and other previous visits, from the little that I've handled, I think it should give me an opportunity to comment about training and refresher courses to the police. Training and refresher courses to the police. Maybe mambo ya salary itaingia hapo kidogo, but mainly it is training and refresher courses. Not being there in person, I said it is hard to conclude what was there, and it is a bit hard to do that. I would recommend that the National Police Service send their experts to record that and then produce it with some editing. I say editing because 90% of what happens it is good to be shared with the public. It is good to be shared with the public because at the end of the day, the public should also understand the police. take an example of where I can give an example of the police has now been turned into people's private militia. You had the OCS and OCPD talking of being given some, like the one in Bomet. They were talking of there was those government vehicles they have. Then they have they have the government vehicles that they have. They have the leased vehicles, and they were talking of some areas OCS and OCPD lacking vehicle. They were also talking about issues that they were talking issues of a vehicle carrying dead people at the same vehicle that the police use, and lack of what do you call counseling, kind counseling, post what do you call post stress, PSTC, something like that. The police need. And I've just mentioned in passing that the people have turned police into their personal militia, because you go to the police station. Uh, Sometimes ago, during Kibaki time na huko nyuma, you would go to a police station and you'd be told the vehicle has no fuel. You all know that the vehicle has no fuel. Today, you go to a police station, they say they have no vehicle. We used to complain that the police were asking for fuel. Now they are saying there are several police stations without fuel, and imagine without a vehicle. And imagine an OCS has got to organize people in the morning to be taken to court and such things. This is where people come. You see somebody coming with an Uber, and then says, "Go and arrest so and so." So if you are a poor person and you can't facilitate the police to get a vehicle to go and arrest the person, that is how it has now become through the roundabout way. The government has not turned itself into uh, the government of those with money willingly, but it has gone through the roundabout way, whereby if, let's say, you are on the other side of the town and the person whom you want to be arrested is on the other side of the town, I'm not even talking of the country. The police will say, okay, we are ready to arrest, but you see, in our police station, we have no vehicle. We used to complain that the police used to say there's no fuel. Now they say there's no vehicle. So you have to look for an Uber. You have to, with the Uber, has to take the police officers to that person and come back. If you don't have money to hire taxes, uh, the case will be pending. The case will be pending for ages until God knows when. Maybe if that person happens to be walking around the police station, then nimemuona pale, and then the person will be arrested. That is where we are. I was blaming the police. I still am blaming the police. If you can't go and arrest somebody because the complainant cannot facilitate for a taxi or for means, then even when a rich person comes and says he has his own vehicle or he can hire a taxi, don't take that, because it means that justice is now being served to the rich. I also wanted to say that 90% of what can be talked there usually is good, but 10% it should be edited by the Police Service Commission. Let me give an example. Of why I say 90% should be shown and 10% edited out. One time, the Police Savings and Credit Cooperative went to Mandera. They visited Mandera. The intention of visiting Mandera was to convince police officers to join the police circle. A police constable complained that the circle was misusing money by driving officials from Nairobi to Mandera, a distance of 1,200 kilometers. He complained that those delegates will be placed in hotels and that they will be paid allowances, and that even at that meeting, the cooperative had facilitated for sodas as they were talking. Then said, you see, if you take the money you have bought sodas here and you take whatever you are spent in the hotels and whatever you traveled with, plus per diems and so on, why can't we use that money be shared among the members? What I'm trying to say is that I'm a son of a police officer. I'm a son of a senior police officer. Myself, I'm a former police officer. I'm a former senior police officer. When you have such meetings, if if Murkomen was to tell you everything that was spoken there, you'd even find that some of their bosses even reach to an extent and try to tell them not to follow certain line. So police officers, sincerely speaking, if given freedom to speak, they wataongea matope na matope ambayo it has no relevance to the meeting. It is just out there too. But I hope that given that opportunity, the National Police Service will not edit such information. Like you remember the OCS who said, I think it was in Kitale, the OCS who talked about challenges that police police service has when it comes to police women. Police, the OCS who said that once the demonstration started, I said all police women go to the police station. Don't go to the don't go to the streets. There are those things that we have been having problems since uh, even before I joined the police. For example, let me. There are even more serious examples than what I'm going to give. But you remember that policewoman who was hit by demonstrators when the police officers decided to withdraw, and the policewoman was hit by a mob. That because she was a woman, there was a lot of concern, and I can tell you that those policemen who are working with her, who had been assigned duty with her, I'm sure they were placed on a frying pan. You know, you are with a woman. Why did you run away and leave her? But if it were men only facing that confrontation, everybody, they say everybody to himself and God for all of us. So if you are a man and you are allocated duty with a woman, and something like that happened, and the mob just attacks her, you will be blamed for having let her. When you are a man, a policeman, and you are assigned duty with a policewoman, it reaches an extent that you make yourself as a human shield to allow her to. So there are those challenges that police headquarters or even the ministry, Kipchumba Murkomen never having been a police officer, they now know, the policy holders now know. And I know women, FIDA and other women organizations may have come out that, but I would believe that such things, not only that issue, but many issues which are brought there, it gives the policy makers know what is happening on the ground. So that is what I was saying, that police officers, the editing should only be to such things that are like, kwa nini sasa hii soda si mnapoteza pesa ya serikali, such things. Um, it stop that. But any other thing like the OCS has now brought out in the open things that should be discussed in boardrooms, and people know what they are going on. We want to address two issues, as I said, that is of refresher courses and promotions. I sincerely, for someone to have worked as a police constable for 12 years or more without a promotion, should send messages. I think that one should send messages. Do we really retain such a police officer? you stay as a constable for 12 years, it only means two things. Either it only means that it means that you two things. Your bosses have seen that you are useless, and the other thing, it shows that you'll be demotivated. Imagine, and okay. I was a Form 6 person, but imagine when I was an inspector. I used to. There are those people who used to be my junior, and they were my father's age mates, and we could sit and they would remember those days when they were doing cheeky things with my father. Hey, Kwatenge akilewa sijui nini. Hey, na kijana yake sasa ni mkubwa wetu. Well, that one we can say I got it because of my academic background. But for you to have a qualification of a D plus and you stay in the same rank for 12 years, it shows that your bosses have no confidence in giving you authority. And it also means that you are demotivated. Why don't you leave the service? Hmm? In other profession, let's say teaching and medicine, just to mention a few, you may still be at the same very level you were recruited in a decade ago, but in teaching and medical, there is that what do you call automatic promotion. Automatic promotion. You'll find that you go to school in a school that okay, not necessarily the school you went to, even another school, and you find that there is a teacher who used to be your teacher. I remember when I was an intelligence officer, I used to like discussing with such teachers. How do you feel being in the same staff room with a student who was your student? And Mwalimu, how do you feel being in the same staff room with a teacher who was your teacher? But you'll find that they are both classroom teachers, but they are not on the same job group. They are not on the same job group. Why should a police officer who is 12 years in service be in the same police grade with a constable with a recruit who has just completed his recruit course in Kiganjo right away? That one would demotivate. It should be you find a teacher, or even in the medical services, somebody you are a class teacher like me, you are a class teacher like me, and you taught me in school, but we are not on the same job group. We are not on the same job group. There is, if you can remember very well, when the teachers were demonstrating or anything, they were saying that there are some teachers who have stagnated in the same job group for 10 or so years. So in the Ministry of Health and Ministry of Education, being the same job group for long, it becomes a concern. But I know people, I can say 2/3 of the Huatenge family who joined the police are retired or are retiring while they were constables. Joseph Sapiri, the late Charles Mulanda, whom can I say, Edward Huatenge, all of them retired while they were still police constable after serving over 30 years. Why should somebody, okay, you can even be a police constable for 30 years, but should you still be in the same police grade the way you are? Eh? For one to be the same job group or job grade for 12 years on, it means that something is wrong. And I said, either you should resign or your boss should remove you from service. The other thing is that the services always motivates middle level and senior officers, but never junior officers. Every time you hear there is whatever, uh, be it in allowances, be it in salary hike or anything, it is usually police officers of the rank of OCPD and above. Any OCS and below, no, 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 no. Yes, we hear that police salary is increased, but have we ever asked ourselves by how much? The best way we can find out, we only have to Like you leave this place and go and meet the next two police officers at random. When you meet, especially of the rank of OCS and below. During my time, OCS used to be considered a very senior person, but nowadays they are just like police base, patrol base. Maybe it's because of there are so many police stations nowadays. During our days, uh, very few districts had 5 OCSs, had 5 police stations. Now you find we have counties with 50 police station. Now, if you move out of here and move out and meet the next two random police officers and ask them how much they last got a salary hike and how much. Now, a constable gets a salary hike of 1,000 shillings and it is announced. I remember even one of these meetings of Murkomen, someone even went to an extent of telling him, next time there is a police salary hike, don't tell anybody. Because you go to your house, your wife thinks that your salary has been increased, but it has been increased by only 1,000 shillings. So everybody knows that the police have their salary hiked, but in reality, it has not been hiked. Let me take an example of 1988. Yeah, 1988. Ask any police officer who, especially constables, ask any police officer who was a constable in 1988 about the salary hike. Uh, my salary in 1988 July changed from constable to acting inspector. So I'll not give myself as an example. But I'm saying supposing I was not promoted from constable to acting inspector or sub-inspector, supposing I was not promoted, my salary would have moved from 1,740 to 3260. 1,740 to 3260. For those who are accountant, you can see. I think, is it double something? That is the only time in the living memory when police officers have been given a reasonable hike. A reasonable hike. June 1988, I was a constable, and July 1988, the following month, I was an inspector. So I moved from the old salary of 1740 to the new salary of an inspector. But I'm talking about somebody who was on the same rank, who was almost doubled the salary. But today you hear the police have got a salary increase and it is only 1,000 shillings on that. In the military, in the KDF, we have six NCO ranks? Yeah, between private, they call constables, they call private. Between private and warrant officer 1, there are 6 promotions. What about the police? How many NCOs are there? In the police, NCOs ranks are 3. A half of that. A half of that. Constable, corporal, sergeant, senior sergeant. So there is corporal, sergeant, and senior sergeant. In the military, there is lance corporal, sergeant, staff sergeant, warrant officer 2, warrant officer 1. Those are 6. I was right. So if in the military you got, in every 5 years, you got a promotion, it means that in 30 years, you'll never notice that you have been stagnating or anything. But in the police, suppose you are to cover the NCO ranks, it means that you will be going for promotion after every 10 years. You'll be going for promotion every 10 years. The other question is, once you are promoted, how much is added to your salary? Yes, you are an inspector. You are made a chief inspector. How much do you earn that? In the police, I can tell you, I doubt whether if you are promoted from inspector to chief inspector, I doubt whether you'll get 5,000 on top of your salary. I doubt. Anyway, if I go to ask them, they think this former Kacheru is spying on us. But I doubt whether, if you're promoted from inspector to chief inspector, if you can, if whatever is added on your salary can reach 5,000. So whatever you get, especially for the rank of OCS and below, is laughable. It is only that your uniform is decorated. People see you in higher ranks, but what you get is equivalent to what is called annual increment. Then there are these two questions. Who determined that a police senior sergeant and an inspector of police should be in the same job group? Who determined that? During my time, uh, we used to mock senior sergeants when I was an acting inspector. Would say I can pay you your salary and still nibaki na kitu ya kwenda kukunywa. But do you know that a senior sergeant and an inspector of police are both in the same job group? Job group J. Job group J. That means that police grade 4 and police grade 5 are both in job group J. What does that mean? It means that for somebody who is a senior sergeant to be promoted to the rank of inspector, he does not get any financial addition. He just changes the uniform and puts on instead of having the chevrons, instead of him having the chevron, the V's, he now has, or she now has, the pips. That is the only thing. And changes the cap from blue to black. Anytime there is changes, the changes should be a plus and not a minus. Anytime there is any changes, it should be something is added to what the serving officers get. During my time, before getting a new rank, you acted in that new rank for at least 6 months. Then you were confirmed in some subjects, some ranks. You would be confirmed on certain conditions, such as exams. But in my time, well, for you to get a new rank, you had to act on it for 6 months. For example, if for you to get an inspector, you have to be an acting inspector for 6 months. And then when you get an acting superintendent, you have to act as a superintendent for 6 months. This was subject to clearance of exams. Because if you are an acting inspector and you had not cleared the inspectorate exam, or if you are an acting superintendent and you are not cleared the gazetted officers exam, then you'll still continue acting until such conditions are met. But in some other ranks, like what do you call? There are some other ranks that I'll come to it later, where you acted just for 6 months and the confirmation would be automatic. In the same rank, anybody would notice the difference. For example, if the days when I was an acting inspector and there was a confirmed inspector, even a civilian would notice the difference, that I don't put on the same rank. Acting inspector and a confirmed inspector used to put on differently. Acting superintendent and confirmed superintendent used to put on differently. Acting SSP and SSP used to put on differently. You could notice some changes. But today, if you are an acting inspector, if you're an acting superintendent or anything, I'll come to that. Other ranks such as acting chief inspector, acting assistant commissioner, acting senior assistant commissioner, and acting deputy, unless you are told, nobody would know that this person is an acting chief inspector. Today we are cheated, or is it the police officers are cheated? Today we are cheated that such acting appointments are no longer there. But in reality, they are back. They are there, but in full force, and even worse than during our time. Because during my time, if you are an acting SSP, 6 months you just get the SSP straight. I remember my friend, I've forgotten his name. We were with him in Mandera. He was in Molo. He retired when he was an acting a senior superintendent, and he was confirmed as a senior superintendent for him to get good retirement package. So what I'm saying is that in our days, if you are an acting this and that, it meant that you are what you used to be. Like me, I was a constable who was acting as an inspector. You can also remember there was even an instance where somebody slapped the daughter of the inspector general, and he was demoted from inspector to constable and taken to Lodwa. Like, this Todonyanga haikuanza leo. The issue was, it was to do with somewhere the roundabout between library and NHIF. This traffic police officer, he was a Form 6 acting inspector. So he slapped the Kilonso's daughter, and he was reverted back to his former rank and taken to those Todonyang area. So what I'm saying here is that during our time, when you are in a certain position, it meant that you are the former rank acting in the senior rank, subject to pleasing your appointing authority, so that today you are cheated that there's no acting rank. Then you are taken to a new rank. You put on uniform of the new rank, and you even impersonate the new rank. But within the 2 years, you will be deemed to be in the former rank. That is, during our time, it used to be 6 months, but nowadays they take 2 years. They take 2 years. I said there are some ranks, such as acting inspector and acting SP, where you are subject to, among other things, exams, a police inspector's exam, or even a gazetted officer's exam. During those days, you are subjected to those. Today, there's no subject like that, but you put on, like let's say you are an OCS, and you are made a superintendent. There, in reality, is you are an acting superintendent, but you are putting on the uniform of a superintendent for 2 years. Should anything happen to you, for example, death, retirement, resignation, or anything, that is when you will be told that your benefits will be calculated as per your former rank. Not even that. Remember, when you leave service, maybe if your age allows, you are supposed to even go out. You are even supposed to go out and maybe be employed as a security consultant and whatever. Everybody knows that you are superintendent, but your retirement letter will indicate your former rank. We now have to address the issue of refresher course. Refresher course is very important. During my time, there were 3 types of refresher courses. I will mention them. The best course was the GSU refresher course. The GSU refresher course was automatic. It was automatic that at GSU training school, at any given time, there was a company there. A company would do their refresher course. I can't remember how long it was. Me, I was busy. you know, what do you call GSU training school is a detention camp, hardship area. I was busy praying God that I complete my 3 months. But in I didn't have time to know how long they took in the refresher course. They used to take, if a company goes for refresher, they take the course for a given time. When they complete, B company goes, they continue that way until, I don't know, have they reached Z company? When they reach the last company, they start again with A company. That way, it was automatic. It was automatic. Uh, that is very good. We should have it even in the police and AP, both the AP and general duties. We should have a system where someone is given a period. I don't know how long it is, so that you cannot stay in the field for 5 years without attending a refresher course. A refresher course. I'll come to justifying the refresher course, but you should be given a certain period, hata kama ni 5 years. You cannot stay for over 5 years without being in a class. Uh, that is what I feel. The second type of refresher course was the special branch course. The special branch was more like a seminar. Was more like a seminar than a course. Imagine being there in suits and having what do you call, 3-course meal. In the morning, you have best bacon, eggs, sausage, and toast. I remember in special branch, people used to want to visit those courses to have that lifestyle for 4 weeks. But bosses used to make sure that because we used to have files, work files. I'm not saying a personal file, work files which retained our copies of our intelligence report. Every time your boss, the district boss, would look at your work file, he would see the last time. He would even ask you, when did you last go for a refresher course? It never meant that you are better or you are rusted or anything. In the special branch and the GSU, they felt that you cannot stay for a given time without undergoing a course. Without undergoing a course. But you see, an intelligence officer's course, mnakaa darasa mna nini and having best bacon, egg, sausage, and toast for breakfast. GSU running up and down. So there are two, but you see, with the special branch one, it used to be more like you are attending a university or a college, yeah, real college. But in the GSU, you had to run, you had to do shooting, you had to do maneuver and whatever. And I remember during those days, we were so few that it is possible that it was happening because we were so few. It was possible. But I think nowadays, with so many sub-counties and whatever, maybe the NIS have a challenge in having those people. Allow me to start with the that is the importance of refresher course. I was shocked that in today's time, we used to have something that we used to call PTC. PTC was provincial training, police provincial training centers. Uh, every province apart from Western, Kakamega, there was no PTC, but all other provinces had PTC. Kakamega, Western, and Nyanza used to go for their PTC in Kisumu. We had a PTC in Nakuru. We had a PTC in Nyeri, Ruringu. We had every province had a PTC, and Garissa and so on. I was shocked to hear that nowadays they do not have a PTC. PTC used to be very important. Nakuru one is the one opposite State House, where it was falsely alleged that there was a tunnel there where people were. Anyway, that is a story of another day. The PTC usually carried out refresher courses. Refresher courses, we will come out to talk about why refresher courses are important. The PTCs used to carry out refresher courses whereby you go back to school. You are taught the way you are taught in Kiganjo. You are also taught on emerging new laws and emerging new security threats. And also, you are also taught about emerging new firearms. Now, for somebody, there are some police stations like where I come from, uh, where my father is buried, if a police officer drops a gun and he comes to look for it, maybe 2 to 3 days later, he'll find it there. But where my mother is buried, at a place called Kayaba, walking distance from Wamunyoro. I said a police officer where my father is buried can come back after 2 days and find the gun there. But if you go to Wamunyoro and drop a gun, you come back after 2 hours, you'll not find it. So what I'm trying to say is that we have some parts of Kenya where police officers just hang guns on the shoulders. Apart from the refresher courses where they are taught and they practice, you see, they practice, they are reminded what they were taught in Kiganjo, in the refresher course. They are also taught on emerging laws, and also they have we should have a regular, we have new guns which are coming, and when the new gun comes, there is an issue. The OCS just gives the police officer to go in places like PTC were specifically for refresher courses. PTCs would be used a place where they have firing practices. uh, I remember, I don't know whether you can remember, during the Sabasaba time, or was it Sabasaba last year, there was an AP chief inspector who didn't know how to handle a grenade and it exploded, and he doesn't have hands nowadays. These refresher courses usually do that, and I don't know, he was employed the other day, if maybe even when I had left service. But you see, a tear gas is called a grenade. It's called a grenade. So we were taught that once you have thrown the tear gas grenade or anything, don't touch it. Don't touch it. For a civilian who's watching this thing, you'll notice how it blows. It blows like a real grenade, and the temperature that it produces is so hot that the hands have to get out. These are the things which are taken care of during the refresher course. Uh, Another thing that was bad during our time of refresher is the name that was given to refresher courses. You'll remember that during the time of during my time, I remember, not you remember, I remember during my time, refresher courses was given a bad name. It used to be given to those people who, there was even one which was called smartening. Smartening is somebody who is dirty, who hata haogi hata fanyi nini. He's taken there, and it is more of like a punishment. Refresher courses should be courses of which are refreshing, but not punishing. Uh, and there's another lie that they used to cheat people during the refresher course. I remember meeting a certain constable. When I was an inspector, I used to like mixing. Okay, I was in the intelligence, but I would go to the police station and mix with the police constables to know their morale and to know, understand them better. And there was, I remember, I used to encourage them to sit for police exams, and they would say, there's no need of sitting. There was even one who used to say that we used to be told that we are going for refresher, and whoever will lead in the refresher will be promoted. And then there was a Turkana in Mandera was telling me, I imagine juzi nilienda interview ya promotion kuwa kopro, and the fellow we went with for refresher was number one, bado tu tunapata shida na ye. And then the refresher should also have bearing in what they were doing, because what I learned when I was an inspector with the intelligence is that the refresher were all punitive. Not only were they punitive, but the syllabus, they used to compare notes when they came back to. There were others which were being called investigation refresher and the PTC. They were being told, unless you go for an investigation course at CID training school, if you go for an investigation course at the PTC, ni refresher tu kama ingine ya kukuangaisha. I also believe that in the military, you see, they have what, every morning they have morning run. They can organize at a battalion level every morning for morning run. In every battalion, there are shooting range and whatever. But in the police, we have even a police post which have 6 people. And if it has 6 people, you find five of them working. One is either on course or on leave or on sick off. So organizing something, okay, if you have to organize for morning run, how would you make that? And 2 of the police officers are supposed to be in the report office, such a thing. So refresher course is also good for what do you call physical fitness, because for those who go for refresher course, you don't see them with pot-bellied, pot-bellied police officers. That one is very much common in traffic, isn't it? You also have to, as I said, practice with weapons. Uh, I, I, I don't want to say this, but if you are to talk to a police officer who is armed, it may bring tension. It may bring tension because if uh, if you are to ask a police officer, when did you shoot using your gun, live shooting, either confronting crooks or in a range or something, uh, of course, the police officer will try to ask himself, if are you assessing me so that you try and steal the gun from me, or are you doing everything? You see, he may interpret that, and he would be forgiven, he would be excused if he shot you, because he'd say that he suspected that you wanted to snatch the gun from him. Especially if you are to ask that question and you are a former police officer like me. You'll find that a person like me who has attended several courses, and when did I last put on uniform? You may find that I'm very good at weaponry than many of the police officers who are there. So regular refresher, regular range practices are mandatory to police officers, serving police officers, but we do not have them. Uh, and as I've said in this recording and in a very many recordings that I've done before, is that what is happening in the police today is that the few good things that are there or were there are being removed instead of them being added. I've talked of salaries being, somebody getting a promotion and is only added 1,000 shillings. I'm talking of somebody getting a promotion. You see, this is somebody who is of an inspector or something, but in reality, for the next 2 years, he is still in his former rank. I've talked about refresher courses whereby people are continuously being taught uh, what they are now doing. They are having very few refresher courses. For example, when did we have last recruitment? Now, before they have another recruitment, that is the time when now where they dash people to occupy the classes in Kiganjo and Embakasi and other places in the name of refresher. Supposing I'm told there's going to be an intake soon. Now, with that intake, they'll take a lot of training on it, depending on various conditions, availability of money, and such a thing. They may recruit immediately. They may recruit another team again. So this is a thing that we are talking about, that serving officers are being given refresher courses subject to vacancy in the colleges. Vacancy in the colleges. It is just like me having a vehicle, using my vehicle, and then between 5 p.m. to midnight, you just use it as a taxi. But you see, if I delay in my place of work for longer, then you will not get time to use my vehicle as a taxi, and you'll spend that day without earning money. That is the same way I'm saying that refresher courses should not be tagged to a condition of vacancies in the recruit training schools. We should reintroduce the provincial training centers where people would be refreshed on a regular basis. With all those many remarks, God bless you and continue listening to me.